Right then, everybody, if you are a subscriber and you've got your notifications turned on, you will have had a little ping in your browser or in your phone letting you know that we're going to be going live very shortly indeed with an incidental episode, one of our drop-in shows that we do for Talking Con, a cup of tea with Englishman in San Diego. It's going to be a cracking episode with a writer who I've got a lot of respect for, and not only that, but he's got himself some great projects on the way, which we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about, you know, what he's been up to over the course of lockdown and summer, because obviously it's been a challenge for a lot of writers and a lot of creative people in comics to get stuff done and get stuff out there. So it's going to be fun to talk to Dan Waters very shortly indeed. As always, it's an open forum. It's you guys as well. If you want to jump in with any comments and questions, do let us know what you want to talk about. Anything, questions you want to put to Dan. Jump in as well. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know how you are at the moment, how things are going, and yeah, join the community on the Q&A, certainly on the YouTube channel. But we have just turned the videos on Facebook public, which means any comments that are coming in, we'll field and we'll go from there. But no, we're looking forward to talking to Dan very shortly indeed. As always, this show just wouldn't happen without our support from our Patreon supporters. So I want to say thank you very much indeed to them. They really are the ones that allow us to keep doing what we do. As always, we also have our tiers as well. So at entry level, we have our English breakfast patrons coming up on screen at the moment. And then, of course, above $2, you're the ones that really are going above and beyond. So thank you very much indeed to our Darjeeling supporters. Yeah, it's, like I say, going to be a fun show, but it's all about you guys. So any questions you have, we've got ourselves a nice little viewing count already, which is great. Yeah, always just jump in with any comments and questions you have, especially perhaps you are a creator and that you have anything you want to put to Dan about what he's been up to. But we'll be live in about 20 seconds or so. So all good. Don't forget as well, this weekend as well, we're going to be having a special episode speaking to the guys from Story Worlds Media, a new British comics house, which is a bold thing to have up and running in this current climate. So yeah, it's going to be cool to talk to them. That's this Sunday. All the clocks kind of realign themselves, certainly for the Yanks. So yeah, you can join us for that at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. That's going to be this Sunday. However, let's do this. Hi there, welcome along to Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name is Leonard Sultana, and each and every episode we talk con culture, comics, and all the stuff and nonsense we get to enjoy at the events when they do run throughout the course of the summer, which obviously conventions are on hold at the moment. But the thing that has allowed us to do is talk to some great comic creators and people in the industry about things that they've been up to throughout the course of the global events that have been taking place. As always, this is an open forum, which means it's all up to you as well. Welcoming people to join us on the show. Saying hi to Toby Totolino. Good morning, he says. So obviously watching from across the seas. Welcome along to you, Toby. As always, any comments, any questions that you have for our guests, do let us know. We usually broadcast, of course, on a Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. But we like to do these incidental episodes, drop-in shows where we get to talk to some really cool people outside of the usual Sunday schedule. It's either down to whether they have something special they want to talk about, or if it's just someone that perhaps we would like to just speak to and they're unable to join us on the Sunday show. This is somebody who has been wanting to talk to us, and I've been wanting to talk to them for a while, purely because it's somebody who I have an enormous amount of respect for. If anything, I own his books. I mean, here's Lucifer, one of the books that he's done, yeah, it's he has a unique voice and a unique style, and it's great to welcome Dan Waters to the show. Hello there, Dan. How the devil are you, sir?
Hello. Yeah, good. How's things?
Not too shabby at all. I mean, usually I would ask the 3 questions on the Sunday show, which is usually involving like your convention history and stuff. But as this is an incidental episode, it's kind of like, it's one of those freewheeling jobs. We can kind of go into all sorts of questions and comments. I mean, to be fair, one of the first questions I ask is what cup of tea you're drinking or what beverage you have. I've got my 2 pints of orange because I know this is going to be a great show, and I want to stay well hydrated for it. You got your beverage to hand?
Yeah. I'm on black coffee, 6 p.m. black coffee, which is a sign that everything's going well. Yeah, usually,
something
right?
Like that. How are you in terms of lockdown? Where can we find you in the country at the moment? Right.
I am London, West London, so
yeah,
tier 2.
In theory.
Yeah. No, I poked my head out earlier, and it was all very busy. So yeah, it's been an interesting year so far, and it looks like it's going to be an interesting year for the next couple of months as well.
I mean, how's been your summer? Certainly in terms of keeping creative, keeping busy. I mean, we were talking just before we came on air about how certainly the lockdown of the industry for a large period of time affected a whole bunch of creatives wanting to get books out there. I mean, what was your summer like? What were you up to?
Yeah, I mean, it really did throw everything for a loop. I won't pretend it didn't. Homesick Pilots and the picture, everything else, just to get that plug in there like real early. They were both supposed to come out at some point during the summer. I think it was like August and September they were originally going to be scheduled for, and now they're both landing in December. So it's been that kind of year. But it's been interesting. I mean, yeah, lockdown or the sort of industry lockdown definitely. It killed a few projects I was working on, but a few things seem to have come out of it out the other end that are really interesting, exciting things that probably wouldn't have happened otherwise. So yeah, trying to get a silver lining at least.
Yeah, because a lot of creatives that I've been speaking to, it's either gone one of 2 ways. It's either been people that have found the restrictions almost freeing in that they are given a kind of focus that's okay, I'm here in this room, there's nowhere I can really go, there's no trips I can make, it's something I can just nail down and just drive through and get some things down, either things that I've already got planned or even my own projects moving forward. Obviously we've been seeing a lot of Kickstarters going up. People have been wanting to get stories out. Then there's the other side where it's really is a case of swimming through treacle, just mentally just trying to kind of get through things. Where have you found yourself?
Probably somewhere in the middle. It's been a bit of both. There was definitely a bit of, it definitely made me reassess creatively a few things that I was doing and a few things I wanted to do. Like, for example, like Danny and I have decided we're going to put the brakes on Coffin Bound over at Image and do something else, just because we've just done 8 issues about death and the nature of death and how we respond to death, and it's a dark book. Like every time we dive into the research for it, it's a dark. It sort of goes to dark places, and it's all about dark subjects. And it just felt at a certain point this summer like it was becoming a little superfluous. Like
yeah.
maybe there's something else to talk about. So I'm exceedingly proud of the book as it is. But yeah, it's made me sort of pivot creatively, I think. Just because I think times like this, like where, you know, these are certainly the sort of darkest times that I've lived through thus far. Just as a global sort of you know, situation
on a holistic level. Yeah.
So I think that's what, you know, we need, those sort of campfire tales to keep us going. We need to sort of have stories to not just to get us through. It's not just about the escapism, but there's things that are changing, and things that are changing faster than I think we've seen in a very long time. So
I think we're going to see an explosion of escapist creativity the other side of this. I mean, it's like you say, there is that element of reality is just a little bit too real for a lot of people, and I think everyone's just going to want to kind of just. I think we're going to see a lot of bright colors next year. I think we're going to see a lot of, even in the dystopian stuff. I mean, we can talk about somebody who's actually watching at the moment. We've got Alex Packnadell saying hi. Hi, Alex. Yeah. I mean, he's just had Giga come out this week, which is a dystopian future, but it's it's a beautiful looking book, and it's very bright. And I think we're going to see a lot of those. I think we're going to see a lot of kind of please God, can we have some kind of brightness to look forward to? I mean, I saw the trailer today for the new Michael Bay thing, which, and it's called Songbird, which is based 4 years in the future. The lockdown's been going on for 4 years, and I'm just going, dude, really? I just can't see how there's going to be an audience for that right now. I just don't see it.
It's just all encompassing. So I think any kind of world, any kind of fiction where we're not having to deal with things that we're all having to deal with every single day at the moment, it feels pretty liberating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. I think you'll get a bit of both. I think you'll get a lot of, where I think we'll also see a lot of stories with themes of isolation, probably themes of boredom, which I think is probably going to be interesting. And just sort of, I think we're hitting a point of terror fatigue where we can't. A lot of us can't. You just get bored of being scared at a point. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of. I think that's where a lot of the frustration is coming from as well in people.
Sure. I mean, that's certainly for the Americans as well, because they've got a chance possibly of seeing some light at the end of the tunnel next week. But right now it's feeling very case of dragging everyone's bones over the finish line. It's a tough one. Yeah. In terms of yourself and the work that you have done, I mean, just in case anybody's watching and may not be too familiar with your work, I mean, I showed Lucifer there, and the great thing about that book was it was issue 9 when I saw you last at Thought Bubble, and I believe it was like a year prior. I saw you at MCM Expo for a panel on the White Noise Studios with yourself and Alex and the rest of the guys. So I'd seen how you had taken on the Sandman universe and kind of really embraced that storyline and what you'd done with the characters. to just so people can kind of get a bit of background, if you can give a little bit of an introduction, certainly in terms of the books and things that you've been involved in up to this summer.
Up to the summer.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. I started, my first graphic novel was with Casper Wingard. It was called Limbo, which we did through Image, who we actually got that picked up at Thought Bubble. They were doing open sort of portfolios at Thought Bubble, and we pitched them that. After that, I went on to do Deep Roots at Volt, and then I've spent the last 2 years writing Lucifer at the Sandman universe, which was a hell of a 2 years, like writing about the devil every single month for 2 years straight. I don't know what that's done to me. And then,
I mean, it was when that project was announced, and it was such an incredible lineup to be part of. But then to see how it has been treated by DC in the wake of its cutbacks and the way that the Sandman universe has been pared back. I mean, how were you treated, and how was the relationship with DC while you were doing that book?
My relationship with DC is like with my editors there on that book. Like, they all loved it, and they all fought for us every step of the way. I mean, yeah, there was some paring back, which was, to my understanding, sort of based on just trying not to overwhelm the stores as things came back from lockdown. You know, when monthly comics hadn't been coming out for a good while, and they had to sort of cut back on certain things. And the fact was that our runs were, you know, we sort of locked in for the first year and then the second year, and it was sort of coming to a sort of natural end on those books. You know, Kat had moved on. Kat Howard, who was doing Books of Magic, she'd moved on to write her novel. Narlo Hopkinson, who was doing House of Whispers, who I co-write some of that with, she had like a novel contract. She had to move on. Sai was moving on to Hellblazer. So those books were all kind of coming to this sort of natural end. So I think it made sense for them for those to be the things that got pared back on. Lucifer was a little bit behind schedule-wise, in that it was coming out on time, but it started behind the other books. So our editors basically fought for us to get all of the whole story finished. So we're releasing the last trade, even though it didn't come out in singles. The last trade's coming out in February, which is very much an end of the story. It's very much it loops back around, which is what our Lucifer was always all about. So yeah, the roughest year for everyone, the roughest year for, I think, everyone creatively, everyone on those teams. But we got to finish our story, which is, you know, I mean, you can't ask for much more.
Yeah. How was it to write that book? I mean, you said there just that writing about the devil on a monthly basis was something that could quite easily take its toll. I mean, when I spoke to you at Thought Bubble, it was something that was still very it was bubbling. You could really feel that there was some real energy, and you were really excited about it. How did that sort of like continue throughout the course of the run of the book?
Yeah, no, I loved it. I loved just the nature of that book, and just sort of taking Lucifer and trying to incorporate every sort of devil myth and every piece of devil folklore that we could, and seeing how that sort of fit into that version of Lucifer. Yeah, it was amazing, and just the sort of research paths it led me down into, all these weird little old stories and superstitions and things. Like, I think we leaned a lot more on superstitions than previous iterations have. They're sort of like old European stories, like that if you want the devil to appear, he's the protector of cats. So if you roast a cat on a spit, the devil will appear. But I'm not quite sure why you would test that, because the idea that this is how you would summon the devil, but you would summon him because he'd be pissed off. Yeah, just like digging into all that kind of stuff, all the sort of avenues that book let us take, and writing a book with a near omnipotent main character was always an interesting challenge. You always had to find ways to make him struggle, make him suffer, because that's what else do people want to see the devil do?
Oh, well, to be fair, the Sandman universe does a really good job of doing that to Lucifer. It kind of likes to stick him in the corner and see how he reacts.
You want to do the devil's sweat.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's cool to see here that the book is coming to trade in February. So that's really exciting to see. But then we can also talk about the upcoming projects that you've got lined up. And you've talked to me about two that you've got coming. You've got Homesick Pilots, which I believe is for Image, and then you've got the Picture of Everything Else through Vault. Which one would you like to start on, quite frankly? Because I've got some images of Homesick Pilots that we can get into, but all I've got from yourself is the Picture of Everything Else, which, to be fair, I'd like to talk to you about, because that is one of the best titles I've heard for a long time. Vault is all. We've got an episode coming up with the Vault guys on a Sunday pretty soon. They are a stunning label to support creators. So I think the question I'm going to ask, not only for Homesick Pilots, but also Picture of Everything Else, why did you go for these titles to these particular homes?
Good question.
I like to get one in.
Yeah, Homesick Pilots was always going to be an Image. That was me and Casper. We did our first book together. We did our first comic together. Our first creator-owned comic anyway. And we loved that world. We always talked about coming back to it. We did that book. We had no idea what we were doing. We were just making stuff. We didn't know anyone in the industry. We didn't have any sort of realistic ambitions. We thought, well, we'll just make it until we can't make it anymore. So we had these, we sort of built out the world, and we had these huge sort of ideas about what it was going to do, which were probably unrealistic for a first series. But we've always talked about returning to it. We've always talked about returning to that world for something else. And that is not what we've done at all. But it was where we sort of started. It was, we've been doing different things. I've been doing stuff at DC. Casper's been doing stuff at Marvel. And we sort of hit a point the end of last year where we're like, okay, I think it's time for us to come back together and do something new, and maybe return to the world of Limbo. But when we started talking about what turned into Homesick Pilots, we just got far more excited about this, and it didn't need any of that sort of connection and things. But it's definitely a sort of an evolution of who we were as creators then. And we did that book with Image. That was our sort of first, that was how people first ever heard of us. So yeah, we didn't ever really talk about taking it anywhere else. We knew we wanted to do that at Image. Whereas the Picture of Everything Else, Vault wanted to do, because we did a first wave of white noise books at Vault, which was Deep Roots, which I did with Val Rodriguez and Trina Farrell. There's These Savage Shores, which you might have heard of. Fearscape, you might have heard of, and Friendo. All spectacular books by the White Noise guys, the rest of the White Noise guys. And after that, Vault came back to us and said, would you guys like to do another wave of books? And we said yes. So the picture of everything else is with Kishore Mahan, who's an amazing Indian artist. He was one of the artists on Black Mamba with Ram, which was Ram's first Kickstarter thing. And he and I have been talking on and off for probably 2 years about getting a there it is. About getting a picture. There's his art, yeah. And we had this horror Western thing that I would still like to go back to, which was really good fun, and we'd sort of made up the pitch for that. But then the idea of the picture of everything else came to me, and I just literally, as the idea came to me, I WhatsApped Kishore, and I was just like, "Hey, what do you think about this idea?" And he loved it. So we just.
Well, tell you what, for people who are watching, give us the elevator pitch. The picture of everything else.
The picture of everything else.
This is where every single creator, every single time I ask that question, every single one go, oh, God, okay, fine, let's try this. Let's go.
Because we've all got about 16 elevator pitches for each book. You're making me choose. The picture of everything else is about the man who painted the picture of Dorian Gray and what he painted next. So he painted this immortal painting. He painted this man who did not age and did not, in which the picture took on his sins rather than his features. And now he has expanded his scope. So yeah, it's a historical thing. It's about the beginning of the 20th century. It's set. The first issue set in 1899, and we sort of take it forward from there. And it's about the sort of death of that age, which is also when Oscar Wilde was. He died in 1901, I believe. So very much the end of one era and the beginning of another, with lots of grisly murders happening through painting.
Fair enough. Is this a limited story, or is it an ongoing?
It's a five issue story. Homesick Pilots is ongoing. Picture Everything Else is definitely it's a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Which is the right way for that to tell that story, I think.
Excellent stuff. And if you can talk about your relationship with Vault, because people who've been watching how Vault have been evolving and growing as a publisher, I mean, for myself, I've just been blown away by their bravery. Not bravery, but just real. They've just taken on board so many different styles of stories. They've just been they've gone out and not just gone for the safe stories. They've really kind of experimented and looked into very unique storytellers. I mean, what do you find so appealing about working at Vault or working with Vault?
Yeah, it is that. It's a different experience to working with Image, where Image is very much you are doing your thing.
It feels very hands-off when I've spoken to people. I mean, even when I've spoken to Eric Stevenson himself, it's like a case of, we are a publisher. We trust our creators. We let them. We know what they can do. They know what they can do. If we let them play and we don't put our hands on too much, we can let them just go off and explore for themselves. How's that different then to Vault?
Well, Vault, you have the team there. You have an editor, with an Adrian. You have Tim Daniels on design. You have more of a sort of cohesive package starting out. rather than doing the things all yourself. Yeah, I mean, it's we've had a good relationship with them. I've had a good relationship with them since back when we did Deep Roots, which was a blast to do, and more of a that one's more of a free form story than I generally tell, which I don't know would have been a great idea if I didn't have an editor there to sort of pair me back and forth, or to sort of guide me.
How complete was the story when you took the picture of everything else to Vault?
That one's more, that one I had more of that kind of, once I had that initial idea, it all sort of very quickly and very easily sort of slotted into place. Kishore and I knew what we wanted to do with that already, and then Vault said, do you want to do a book? And we said yes. We would very much like to do a book.
And what was the timetable for that in terms of how long it's been kind of noodling in the back of your head, and when did they take that on? Because like you say, it was supposed to be out at this point.
Yeah, but yes, it was. But again, creatively, people have been slowed down. Things have not gone according to plan, all that kind of stuff. People have had different situations in different countries. We're making this book across 3 continents, so it hasn't been quick. No. But it's been very worth it. I mean, also bearing in mind, like, Kishore is he's watercoloring the whole thing because he's a lunatic. He's watercoloring all of it that he's not doing in acrylics as well. It's. I mean,
all I've seen is that is the cover. I'm really looking forward to this. I mean, if anything, because I'm a Dorian Gray fan. I'm a fan of the story. I'm a fan of how that worked. I mean, it's like you say, at the turn of the century. I think that's partially me being old enough to, but the pair of us experiencing the last turn of the century, and that kind of that real transition into a new age. And that is where I think I'm going to get a lot from this book, because it has, from what you're describing, it's a change of engine. It's a change of vibe. It's a change of moral standing. It's a change of so much stuff, purely off the back of a date clocking around on a calendar.
Yeah,
it's an excuse for a new change, and which I think people will really kind of attune to 2020 moving into 2021, especially with this year that we've had. I think we're all looking forward to January 1, 2021.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the side of it where, bearing in mind you're talking about a man who paints things which freeze things in place. There's also an element of progress doesn't always go. It's not a straight line. It doesn't go forward and forward and forward. It sometimes it slides backwards, and I think particularly now we're starting to feel. So, looking at the sort of Supreme Court appointments, looking in the States, looking at certain things that are happening over here. It doesn't always feel like we're progressing in the right direction. So there's a terror, I think, as well to when things start to accelerate and things start to get a little fast and start to tumble down a little bit more. And I think the beginning of the 20th century was full of a lot of hope and a lot of excitement. And I mean, the World Fair happened in Paris, and they built the Eiffel Tower for that, and all that kind of stuff. It was all, look at the bright electric future we're about to have. And then 14 years later, you had the First World War. And then you had the whole first half of that century being bloodshed across that city in particular.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to talk about
It sounds fascinating. I'm down for that. And then you've got this book which you sent me today. I have yet to really get my head around, because what you're doing with Homesick Pilots is, number one, it looks amazing. The gang that you've got involved my God, it's a hell of a lineup. If you can give us what the story is for Homesick Pilots, please.
So Homesick Pilots is about, the sort of top line, easy sort of pitch is that it's about teenage punks piloting a haunted house as a mecca, is what it's sort of all about in the first arc. But a lot of the first arc is how we sort of get to that place, which is like, if you flick through, you can see the house walking. It's about teenage punks who break into a house to try and find somewhere to throw a cool gig, and it turns out it's a haunted house, and it starts doing all sorts of horrible things. It's definitely drawing on my own sort of misspent youth more than anything else I've done. There's a few anecdotes and things in there that are truer than I would care to admit. It's drawing on a lot more sort of like manga influence and sort of stuff that most of my work's a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, baroque maybe.
That's a good word for it. No, that's. I was trying to think of a word you could use, and I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head on that one.
Yeah, someone said that to me the other day. I was like, oh, I'll take that. But yeah,
that goes on the business card.
Yeah. To be honest, like part of the, I don't want to take away from how much this book is very much a me and Casper sort of collaboration, in that it wouldn't happen any other way. It's very much the two of us. When the two of us make a style of book which neither of us, I think, make individually, which is cool to come back to sort of 4 years down the line after Limbo. But definitely part of one of the conception points for this was Aditya Bidikar, who is the letterer on the book and the letterer on most of my creator-owned stuff. He and I were in Goa drinking cheap beers on a very beautiful beach, and we were talking about sort of like projects and what kind of things we wanted to do and stuff. And he said to me, like, he said to me that he'd really like to see what a pop song book looked like from me, rather than sort of everything being sort of big and baroque. And I don't really have a pop song. I don't really have a pop sensibility, but I definitely have a punk rock one. So
one of the questions I was going to ask was, what is your go-to karaoke track?
Oh man, it'd be something by The Cure, inevitably.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
but I say, oh wow, but I'm not surprised by that. Actually,
no.
I'm okay.
Maybe Love Song. But yeah, Homesick Pilots is my sort of attempt to do a punk pop song, maybe, book, something that's a lot cleaner and a lot sort of it's just a lot of fun. It's got haunted houses that walk. It's got ghosts that sort of have different powers and transfer that onto sort of different people. It's got the kind of people that I grew up with, for better and for worse, for sure. That scene was such a huge part of my teen life. I mean, it was pretty much all encompassing of my teen life, and it sort of saved me and also killed me in different ways.
keep a track on what I'm scrolling through. I don't want to go too far forward and ruin anything. So let us know where I am with where I'm scrolling through. Because I mean, I'm just to share the artwork which Casper's doing, which is just. I mean, not. It's also just. It looks gorgeous. The color palette's nicely suited to the tones which you're going for. To be fair, I mean, what kind of? I mean, it's like you say, you're aiming for pop, but it's more your 90s Nirvana pop. It's kind of like the
sub pop.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, if you could pick 3 bands that you would say would ideally soundtrack this.
Oh man, just 3.
Okay, go for it. Knock yourself. I mean, is there a Spotify list for this thing?
Not yet. There will be.
Not yet.
There definitely will be. I'm sure we'll put that out sometime before the book drops. I don't know. There's a lot of books referenced in the book. I'm trying to think who we talk about. Talk about Fugazi, the Descendants. There's a big argument about the Ramones. Yeah.
So I was thinking Pixies when I read it.
Pixies, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a sort of mash between the sort of punk and the grunge and the metal stuff, which was, I think, how it always kind of was as a teenager. It was always you had sort of people who were very sort of dogmatic about it. Yeah, we should probably stop.
I'm not going to go any further than this into the book.
Exclusive pages.
I will leave it right. We won't go any further than that. But the color palettes is just been. It just looks amazing.
I mean, Casper doing. If you just let Casper do his thing, he's just the best.
Yeah.
He always has been. Just don't let him hear me say that.
We've got Simmer 1980 basically suggesting, cure karaoke post lockdown or should post COVID. So I could imagine that if this would have been launched at a convention or something, or if you were getting the word out for this, there would have been a live element to this, because it does feel very vibrant in that regard.
Done stuff. Like if it was more feasible, like I would have tried to put together a sort of like record and everything. But this year was not
that. I mean, with this book as well. I mean, the other books that I've read of yours, they're very, and I hope I'm not reading wrong the books that you've done. But for myself, I feel that they're very introspective. They are very much about the personal drives of your characters. It's very much an introspective kind of a take on what you do. I mean, that's the reason why Baroque, I think, is a very good term for that. But this is very much it's a crowd. This feels like a gang, which is, I think, it's a great sensibility for right now. There is that vibe of a kind of a gang coming together.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to need a fair bit of that moving forward. No, it is. It is about that. It's about being a teenager and sort of finding your tribe, and how that is a sort of really exhilarating but quite scary thing. And there's all these rules, like in a scene like that. There's all these rules you suddenly have to navigate and stuff, which no one's going to tell you about ahead of time. And I think any kind of social group has that kind of trial by fire element, especially when you're a teenager and everything is so life or death. I think that's a big part of the book, is the idea that we're taking stuff which feels life or death and making it actually life or death.
And you say this is an ongoing. What's the kind of what have you got in mind, and what have what you and Casper got in mind for the book? What's been mapped out already? How far have you gone in terms of planning Homesick Pilots for moving forward?
I mean, yeah, it's planned out. At least we know what book 2 is. We know what our endpoint is. But yeah, we'll see. I think is the.
I know it's difficult to kind of. I mean, everyone has ambitious plans, and everyone wants their books to be the big enough success to take forward. And obviously, it's a case of seeing how it's responded and how it'll move forward. I personally think this will be. I think this will go well. I think this will go down very well.
Yeah. I mean, you always hope so, but to be honest, I always kind of also have a thing of I never want things to outstay their welcome.
Like a good pop song.
Yeah, exactly. Like a good punk rock song. Like, the best ones are all under like a minute.
I was just going to say, be careful. That you're basically describing a 4 done and done. you are. That's how you want an album of these.
Yeah, you want an album. That's the difference. Yeah. Yeah. So it's. I never want it to sag. I never want it to sort of feel like it's overstaying its welcome. I'm a big fan of sort of cutting things and moving forward and stuff. But this book, I think, there's a lot of places to go. There's a lot of fun to be had with the premise. We'll do it for as long as we can, I think. This is the first time I've written towards the ongoing, I think, rather than written towards the volume. I've always liked treating books like the graphic novel is like a novel. Coffin Bound is extremely that. Coffin Bound was always going to be a book a year. Yeah. That's a novel in itself. Like, we've done 2 arcs, 1 to 4 issues, 1 to 4 and 5 to 8, but they're very different books. I mean, the book's called Coffin Bound, and every volume is about a death. So yeah. we always, by nature of the book, had to move protagonist because otherwise we'd just be lying in the title, which doesn't feel like the right way to go if you want readers to trust you. So I've always been a really big fan of treating the graphic novel as a novel and then moving on to the next sort of phase in the book. Whereas Homesick Pilots is a little bit less that. This is a little bit more just hitting the ground running and telling one big long story.
Which is weird because when I was reading this first issue, I put a tweet out the other day that I was cutting back on my comic list at my comic book shop purely due to funds at this point. But I am a big I'm not so big on trades. I'm not a massive trades fan. I'm a fan of the floppy issue. I'm a fan of the episodic. I'm a fan of the issue you get each month and the anticipation of the story moving forward. And when I was reading Homesick Pilots, the speed and the energy of the book. You were talking about the punk sensibility in that 2-minute punk song. That's how it felt. It felt like a real kind of a shot of adrenaline, which is why I'm curious to see how the book is going to read over a trade length when you do kind of sit down and have 6, 7, or 6 issues in a trade or whatever. Whereas I'm really enjoying the idea of that short, sharp hit every month or so, or every month when the book comes out.
Oh, I mean, thank you. I mean, you're always. I mean, I sort of say these things. You're always writing towards both. You've always got an eye on both. It's part of the art. It's
the nature of the book. Yeah, nature of the form. Yeah,
it's nature of writing monthly. Like, you always want the issue to feel like a unit in itself. I mean, every scene should be a unit in it, without getting too much into sort of craft stuff. Every scene should be a unit in itself. So you should be able to chop stuff up and do it episodically, or do it as one big story if you're doing it right, I think. I think it will be a fun read either way.
Cool. You've kind of told us that the books are coming out in December. Have you got dates for both books? And are they coming out the same week, man?
They are not. Homesick Pilots is December the 9th, and Picture of Everything Else is, I think, the week after. So that would make it the 16th. I'm going to Google it. I'm just going to Google it right in front of everyone.
That would be a nice Christmas present for anybody. A nice Dan Waters in a bag. There you go. Both books as a Christmas present.
Yeah, here's some horrible murders. Here's some nice neon horrible murders for you in Homesick Pilots, and here's some lovely watercolor horrible murders for you.
In other words, perfect Christmas.
December 16th is the Picture of Everything Else.
Fair enough. Obviously, these books were planned before COVID and before at the beginning of the year. But we've been seeing so many people looking at the way that the industry has been changed and the way that things have happened over the course of the summer. And so many people have been looking at other ways of connecting with their audience. Has crowdfunding been something that's appealed, or is it anything that other creative-owned stuff to go direct to an audience via crowdfunding? Is that something that's appealed to you, or are you quite happy with the homes that you've found with your books?
Yeah, to be honest, it's not really been something I've considered because my slate is about as full as I can manage as far as creator-owned stuff. And I think also as far as, like, you don't want to start putting stuff out more than people sort of want. You want to... I never want to put out sort of too much stuff. I'd rather put out stuff that I'm really sort of had time to think about and consider. Sure. and spent my time on. So I think, I have, because I have homes, I'm lucky I have good relationships with my publishers and things. To be honest, if I was going to crowdfund, it probably wouldn't be comics. It would be something else. It would be theater, or it would be film, or it would be something more visual. Not more visual than comics. Comics are visual, but more live.
Okay. It sounds like you've had a little bit of a think about that. You never know. We may see something maybe in the new year. That would be interesting. That'd be cool. And I think we'll kind of wrap up with a little bit of a plug for an episode that's on the way, which is the White Noise Studios special that we're going to be doing next month. Is it next month? Yeah, end of next month.
Yes.
Which I'm looking forward to. And the way that you guys have been, like I say, evolving. I mean, where I tweeted that I was there pretty much from the start. I don't think that was the case. I think there's a good couple of months or whatever when you came together and kind of your coming out party as White Noise. But it's been so exciting to see how you and the guys have been pretty much taking over comics, and the way that you've been all evolving what you're doing, and really kind of growing in so many different directions, and expanding your work. Have you been able to keep in touch? I mean, I'd love the idea that when you all come on to this episode that we're doing, it's going to be some kind of like grand reunion because you haven't spoken to each other for ages.
To be honest, we talk every day. In a group chat, like there's a lot of back and forth on all sorts of things. We keep in touch literally every day, I would say, which has kind of always been the nature of the studio. It's halfway between sort of fire in which to put your irons and have stuff, have your work really forged in sort of brutal peer feedback, and it's also totally a support group. It's us, trying to band together against everything right now. The truth is, we're just writers that really sort of respected each other's work and really wanted to sort of push things and create the kind of comics that we're now making. It's always felt like a very sort of natural, easy thing.
Cool. And what's been the guys' reaction to the books, to Homesick Pilots, and the picture of everything else? What's been the banter that's been going on about those books?
No, they can't stand it.
I can imagine Ram has really embraced picture, and I can imagine.
Oh no, he's furious. I'm doing anything that's Victorian horror.
Oh yeah, okay.
No, he's not. No, These Savage Shores was a hell of a book.
Yeah,
and we're sort of we're a little bit in that space, but I don't know. Those guys have been there since I had those ideas, so it's a slightly strange thing as well when you're sort of you sort of go to the guys and you're like, here, look, here's a finished thing, and they're like, yeah, we know, we saw the script, we saw the pencils, we saw the inks, we saw the colors, like we've read this 4 times.
We've told you what to do to improve it, and you haven't listened.
I wouldn't get to make. I don't think the books would be quite what they were if we didn't have that whole group chiming
That's
in,
cool.
chipping away at things.
That's really cool. Right, so I mean, we'll let you get off and enjoy the rest of your evening. Homesick Pilots through Image, the picture of everything else through Vault. Is there anything else that you can talk to us about? Any of the books that you've got coming out? Anything that's happening at the moment?
Superman, Wonder Woman in January. January and February, 2-issue with Leila Del Luca and Jordi Belair. Yeah. We got a hell of a team on that one.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's that's the most sort of fun I've had doing something superhero-y. I haven't done too much superhero-y stuff. No. I've played DC Universe a lot, but not with superheroes so much. I've done villains and I've done demons and I've done that sort of end of things. And to be honest, I was really, really chuffed when they asked me to do this one in particular, because I know that I sort of have that sensibility and I have that sort of that style. And I have that reputation for a reason, because I really enjoy that stuff. But to change pace and do something that's just really optimistic and doing big heroes and big adventures, I'm really excited to do that.
What was that like, to kind of change those gears and kind of head into that kind of world?
It's all storytelling. It's all it was nice. It felt nice. What kind of writing? Nice. It was just cool. I love superheroes. I love Superman. I don't track with anyone who says Superman's boring or hard to write or any of that stuff. I just spent 2 years.
I've never understood that. Never understood that at all. I mean, there are some where you can kind of misstep, and I mean, I think for the obvious one is Superman Returns for Bryan Singer, who just wanted to do a Dick Donner impression, and I'm sorry, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to create your own vibe to the thing.
Everything finding the heart of the thing, and if you maybe if you try and find someone else's truth, then that's not going to ring as well. I mean, I spent 2 years writing a near omnipotent devil who doesn't give a shit about any of his supporting characters. So after that, Superman's a doddle.
Excellent stuff. No, looking forward to that. That's going to be great. And like you say, a hell of a creative team that you've got involved on that. So that's incredible. Where's the best place for people to keep a track on what you're doing in terms of your books? Is there a newsletter? Is there a website? Is it your Twitter? Where's the best place to point
the best
people?
place to find me for sure. Any of that other stuff will get linked through my Twitter. So at Dan PG Waters. Yeah, there you go. You were prepared. You had that ready.
I tried my best. It's up there on screen. Dan PG Waters on Twitter. Yeah, okay, that's cool. I mean, like I say, I think everyone's going to be really excited to see more pages and more stuff coming through certainly about Homesick Pilots for myself, purely off the back that I've seen the first issue now. And yeah, I can't wait for the Spotify playlist. I think it's time you need to
I think
spend an evening and just plug away at that.
Yeah, Casper and I will have a good fight over that. So
excellent stuff, Dan. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm, like I say, excited for all the books coming forward, and like I say, let's put that back up on the screen because it's a gorgeous cover as well, coming from Image. Homesick Pilots. Do go check that out. Again, thank you very much indeed for coming on, and yeah, looking forward to our special episode talking to you the rest of the White Noise guys.
Yeah, see you next month.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much indeed for watching, everybody. You can find out more about what I get up to, of course, at theconventioncollective.com. You can keep an eye on what Dan's up to on his Twitter. And, of course, you can watch every Sunday with Talking Con, a Cup of Tea with an Englishman in San Diego, our usual Sunday show. This week, we're going to be talking to the guys behind a new UK comics house, which is something when I got the email through, I almost didn't believe it was true. But no, really excited to talk to not only the person who's put the group together, the actual the label together, but also we're going to be talking to a whole bunch of the people behind it. So that's Max Gagney. So we're going to be talking to Ramsey, Julian Parry, and Simon Delafond, and then of course all the rest of the lineup we've got up on screen, including Sunday, the 29th of November, White Nose Studios with Alex Packnadell, Ram V, Ryan O'Sullivan, and Dan Waters. And that is our show. Thank you very much indeed for joining us for our incidental episode. Do take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And hopefully you can join us on Sunday for Talking Con, a Cup of Tea with an Englishman in San Diego. Take care.